Yeah, I mean, the stats show that Africa is the fastest growing crypto market. And there are a number of reasons. I think when we talk about Africa, we always talk about infrastructure. That is one of the biggest drivers of crypto adoption right now. Inflation, things like inflation, currency, instability. This is like a Pan-African problem, right? Has led to people adopting blockchain versions of their local monies or blockchain versions of money.
Hello one and all, and welcome to the Afribond sessions, the show where we discuss the latest news, trends and projects shaping the African continent. I'm your host TJ Omojobolo. Now it's our first episode since the Afribond Tech-Shantelle Assets in Africa. I want to give a massive thank you for everyone who attended, and it was great seeing so many new faces as well as listeners to the show. All the panels are now on our YouTube channel. Just type in Afribond YouTube and I've also put it in the description. And you just heard from Chantelle Awoyomi. She's a leader in the Web3 blockchain and crypto space. She's helped numerous teams grow and launch their businesses, while also being in the venture building space across Africa, researching the needs of founders, investors and accelerators. We discuss how crypto has grown in countries across Africa, unique use cases for blockchain and cryptocurrencies, as well as talking about tech, AI, and our thoughts in the VC space and what needs to be changed there. So let's jump into it. All right, we're back. Chantelle, welcome to the Afribond sessions. Glad to have you here. We're just talking about how we were at the Afribond Santander event as well, and now we're back here in person. How are you doing? How have you been since?
Thank you for having me, first of all. I've been so good. That event was amazing. I met so many people. I've had so many follow-ups. And now I'm really glad to be talking today about, frontier technology.
Awesome. And I think before we even get into frontier technology, you are a jet setter. You're traveling around the world. You're for various events, conferences. It'd be great just to understand some of the events that you're going to and what you take from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working in the blockchain space for around 3 years now. And I actually started off due to events. The nature of the industry is it's decentralized. So you tend to meet up with your colleagues at conferences and hackathons. Hackathons are a huge part. I feel like without hackathons, the industry wouldn't be what it seems like. A lot of these blue chip companies have come out of a 2-day sprint, trying to build something on the edge of the edge. I do a lot of crypto conferences, mainly Ethereum events because I exist within the Ethereum ecosystem. But I'm starting to do more.
Yeah. No, definitely. And that's why there was 2 reasons why I wanted to bring it. Also, the main reason was to talk about crypto. And also I realized I hadn't had too many women on the show, and I really wanted to rectify this. So just due to the work that you're doing, I thought you'd be a great guest to have. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about crypto in Africa. I'm sure we'll get into blockchain and technology in general too. Now, in recent times, you'll explain in a few seconds, crypto adoption, there's been, from what I've seen, quite a bit of a spike, quite a bit of a surge there. Be great if you could just talk about the reason why there's been that increase in crypto adoption and some of the businesses and individuals that are using it.
Yeah, I mean, the stats show that Africa is the fastest growing crypto market. And there are a number of reasons. I think when we talk about Africa, we always talk about infrastructure. That is one of the biggest drivers of crypto adoption right now. Inflation, things like inflation, currency, instability. This is a Pan-African problem, right? Has led to people adopting blockchain versions of their local monies or blockchain versions of money. People have been for years. I think there is this idea, and the crypto that we're going to talk about today, there's this idea that it's super novel, super innovative, and it's so different to the behaviors that we see in people today. But I think that if you look back and you speak to people about their spending habits and saving habits on the continent, people will transact day to day in their fiat currencies, but they'll save in the US dollar, they'll try and save in the US dollar, and it's the same thing that we see replicated in crypto. There's and more like many more use cases. Like remittance is one. Remittance companies generally charge very high fee, and with crypto, it gets so much cheaper. Like we're talking up to 5% cheaper.
Yeah.
And then also, I would say like some more drivers of crypto adoption across Africa is like the nature of like the makeup of the population. Everyone's young, tech savvy, looking for opportunity. And I think that it's an industry that attracts the curious. Yeah.
Right. No, no. It's awesome. It's awesome. And like you said, it is young. There's so many populations where it's younger than the age of 18, such as Nigeria. One of the big ones, and I'm sure you can tell us more. So around 2023, there was this massive currency devaluation in the Nigerian currency, the Naira. And there was quite a bit of adoption to cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin, of course. So I know you gave some reasons as to why inflation, everything else, but why was that the case in that 2023 period in Nigeria?
What a question.
I try.
One thing I do want to highlight, and I want to think about, is like the current, like tracking the current population growth across Africa. Like we expect 1 in every 4 people to be African by 2050, and I think it's just a big. I keep saying it to people. I'm like, you're going to be in a room and like half people will be African. So that's like another big driver. There's a huge population, but in terms of the currency devaluation, and like I said, this happens across African countries, for various reasons. The reason why crypto spiked was because access to the US dollar became so limited. Like central banks generally control the flow of like money in the economy. And what happened was crypto became like a parallel economy in a way. If you look at Binance, which is probably the most popular centralized exchange, especially in Africa, you were getting daily volumes of around $20 to $30 million. But the reason why is because you couldn't get your hands on the dollar. It became scarce.
Yeah.
And only other easy way to access it was by buying the tokenized versions of the US dollar.
Right. No, it's interesting, and saying that, like you said, there were so many different communities across, at that time, Nigeria, and various different cities that were using it. What I think a lot of people maybe outside that don't know the knowledge there in terms of crypto in Africa were surprised about was that even fairly small communities, impoverished areas, would use it. For example, I remember looking in Kenya, where there were these fairly small areas, fairly small towns that didn't have that high income, but even still they were able to use crypto. So I'm guessing that's one of the huge benefits, that's accessible to everyone.
Yeah, and I want to give like a different spin on crypto, because a lot of the time, like people think of like crypto, think of like scams or like all of this stuff. And if you really like go to like the origins of the technology, there's this it's like 2-paragraph memo, right? And it's called the Crypto Anarchist Manifesto, and it just talks about how decentralization is important. There shouldn't be any bias in the system. It shouldn't matter where you are, what you look like. You should be able to transact freely. That is like the promise that like the crypto space is built on top of, which is why you see these like smaller micro communities using crypto rails to do what really and truly their currency should be doing for them.
Yeah.
So that exists across, like Ethereum world, Bitcoin world, Solana world.
Can I push crypto rails just for the audience and myself on that too? Like, I don't. What could you just expand and elaborate on that?
Crypto rails, and when I say it, I just mean blockchain. These tokens exist on blockchains.
Okay.
For there's many there's a lot of upsides to that.
Yeah.
But I was referencing like different ecosystems because there are a number of tokens. I don't know if you've ever been on, Coinbase or Binance.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, what is happening? But they all exist on top of blockchain.
Okay. Got you then. So what you said, and I don't want to anger you, but it's you talked about sometimes crypto can get a bad rap. And sometimes I can be a bit worried myself because you see a lot of places in Africa and in the West too just don't have that digital infrastructure, which is why they're going into crypto. So I can imagine there's a information problem, right, between them knowing the background as to how crypto works in general, and also some of the news that can impact crypto. So there's been times in which we saw in the pandemic era, 2020, 2021, obviously there was huge spikes in Bitcoin, Ethereum, other places, but other times there was massive crashes too.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see new communities using crypto, sometimes you can be a bit wary of them not having all of the information, and there could be a risk there. So first, what do you say to that? And then also, how could you maybe alleviate that if that is a problem in your eyes?
I face this question a lot. And honestly, I don't necessarily think it's a crypto problem. I think it's more a trust problem. Like you said, it's like, do they have the right information? Are they using the right platforms? And like, it's mainly a trust issue rather than a technology issue. And I think with any technology, you have bad actors. It does outside of crypto, you have people that try and like steal your identity, sit on the laptop.
Yeah,
like
the internet in general.
Exactly. Exactly. This is a wild, wild west. And I think because it's a nascent industry, it's an emerging technology, there's been less regulation. We have seen bad actors profit.
Mm-hmm.
However, you also, on the flip side, have to look at, look what the institutions are doing. Like I said, it diverges from the Crypto Anarchist Manifesto, but you see institutions, you see governments accruing vast amounts of crypto, decentralized currencies. So I think the main thing really is education.
Cool.
Being able to double check, triple check what you're doing. But I also am aware that like bad actors will always exist.
Mm-hmm.
So the onus really is on you to kind of make sure that you are as well informed as you can. Google is free.
Yeah,
I say that. I'm like, Google is free. You can just Google it. But and just double check, triple check. Like my mum, for example, this is a bit tangent, but
please go.
My mum has been bothering me. So I've worked in the industry, and she's telling me like somebody's emailed her telling her that she has like 3 Bitcoins, and I'm like, there's no way.
I wish
that you have 3 Bitcoins because you never bought Bitcoin. Like when I told you,
we would be here.
I'm like that you don't have 3 Bitcoins, and then she keeps going and she's like, okay, let me show you the emails, and I'm like, these emails look so legit, like. It looks so legit, and then you click on the actual email sender, and it's like, this is not the URL. This is not like the domain. And it's like checking things like that and making sure that you are talking to who it is you think you're talking to. And then you also have to like hedge against the crypto volatility, like the market volatility, which is why stablecoins have become such a big thing. Because like $1 is one USDC or one USDT. And now we're starting to see regulated stablecoins even in Africa. Nigeria has one. It's called CNGN. I think they're a really cool team. We're really excited to see how they, tackle distribution.
Sure.
But that is like a way that you can kind of, hedge against what's happening in the market.
Perfect. And I think, like you said, it's a nascent market. It's still early. It's just building up that education, and hopefully more people will be able to see the realness from the fakeness. Kind of with any other industry. And you were just talking about some of the use cases, and look, we talked about those cross-border transactions in general. But crypto is not all about transactions. There's various different uses. So it'd be great if you could tell me, particularly some of the other uses of crypto, and also when it comes to Africa, where do you see those uses being used as much other than those transactions in general?
Yeah, I mean, because I actually come from the builder side of things as opposed to like, the finance side. I'm actually anti-finance. No, I'm joking. But yeah, like blockchains can be used for so many different things because there are inherent benefits of using blockchain technology. Like the fact that they're immutable, you can't change what has gone before. So this is like great for like anti-fraud or even for analyzing risk profiles or things like that. I think when we think about blockchain technology, it's so easy to just think about crypto and tokens and paying for things and transacting. But what about building applications that are composable, that are interoperable? There was a time like crypto moves and trends, and there was a time when Web3 social was a thing for us though in the industry. And it was basically a focus on social graphs. Right now we log into, Instagram and then like X, LinkedIn, whatever. And then we have different following. We follow different accounts and we have different likes on each platform. But what if you could make your followers portable, your following portable? And then from there, build this reputation across platforms. You can go from your social media, build a reputation score, go to a decentralized finance platform, and have a reputation score that gives you access to credit. Like there is a promise of a better financial future, which is probably like the biggest focus. DeFi is probably the most successful use case of crypto, but there's also there's the social layer. I want to get onto companies that I've seen.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah. There are some really cool companies that have been working like right now. The big focus is on stablecoins and remittances. One company I'd really like to talk about is Katani Pay. They are Kenya based and they are integrated with M-Pesa. And they allow you to on and off ramp stable coins. And I think recently they've been in the news in the tech news, because Tether invested in them.
Okay.
Tether are the guys that provide USDT, which is the stable coin, like the chosen stable coin for emerging markets. So I think they're super cool. There are a bunch of other companies also building in that same vertical. Right now I see local stable coins coming up. I think I mentioned CNGN earlier.
Yeah.
They're really cool. I've got some teams that I'm very excited about. Like I said, I'm on the builder side, so I like working with these companies understanding what they're doing that are kind of building in that vein. We aren't seeing as much creative stuff.
Okay. Can I pause you there? Because that was going to be my question. So also you talked about some of the companies like Katani Pay. That's a great shout out, and they're working stable coins. But let's say you're the president of crypto. so where would you say are maybe some of the sectors or industries that you think crypto could work on more? Like we talked about the cross-border payments and stable coins. What other sectors or areas do you think crypto could have a massive difference on when it comes to just the general ecosystems that are operating across the continent?
So I did a bunch of research onto like blockchain technology and where could it go. And like where I landed was like the gig economy, the informal like work. And what does the future of work look like?
Yeah.
And then what does that look like in Africa?
Yeah.
Where a lot of the job market is informal.
Yeah.
So I bridged that with looking at like creators and culture and art. And I think there was a period of time with the NFT boom where everyone was like super bullish on like blockchain for like creators.
Yeah.
But I don't think that at that time we really solved a problem. So if I was the president,
It's coming.
if I was the president, I would look more into that and try and fund or develop more use cases for blockchain technology on the creator side. What does that look like for working with brands? What does it look like for gaming? What does it look like for film, music, entertainment? Because generally, when you look at those verticals, like there is global demand for Afrobeats, for Nollywood, and even I don't know what the South African version is because I'm into a lot of South African movies, but there's so much demand all over the world, but I think it's a very underfunded and underserved vertical.
Okay, no, and maybe then we can talk about like you said, it's underfunded at the moment. So one way in which you can improve that funding is via governments. So I feel that the governments and crypto, they haven't had the best relationship. But I think things are improving, especially in the West. So I want to ask in terms of you see Nigerian economies, they've adopted crypto a bit more from what I've seen.
Yeah.
How do you feel that relationship is now with when it comes to the average government in Africa compared to how they're perceiving crypto and how they're adopting it?
It's tough.
Mm.
It's tough because every country is so different.
Of course.
And you have, but from the conversations that I've had, there is an increasing openness to blockchain technology and what it can do. In terms of, like we talk about, there's a lack of infrastructure. Like some things just don't work, but they can work with blockchain technology, but it takes the education piece and the understanding. I would say it's touch and go. And especially because, I don't want to get to politics because this is, you run the risk of getting into like a political conversation, but it really does depend on who's in charge at any particular time. Because, governments have been known to roll back policies that have done so much good.
Mm.
I say globally. Sure, that's it. But yeah, I would say that like I was in Ghana earlier this year. I had some really good conversations with people with the Chamber of Digital Assets. They have an incredible attitude towards adopting blockchain technology for various things and not just for like financial things. There's clear regulation. Always get clearer as the days go on. And so I think it's coming, but there isn't enough like top level information. Or there's sometimes appetite for it. Every country has different drivers, but Ghana, like I would say, was like it's very open to exploring.
No, for sure. Like, I'm just looking around the world where you're right. It just depends. Sometimes who's in power in terms of who actually is attracted to crypto or not. We've seen that in America. We've seen that in China. Sometimes crypto all over is banned, and then other governments, I'm not saying who, but they make their own crypto coins. So it just really depends. Honestly, it does. So I guess we talked about the businesses using it and also the individuals, but I think just going back to the informal sector, so the street vendors, the construction workers, everything in between in terms of that informal sector. I'd like maybe if you could just go into more detail, maybe a specific example of, let's say, like you said, you are a street seller. Let's say you are maybe a taxi driver. How is there an example of how crypto in maybe the next decade or so or 5 years could improve their work or improve them as a whole? And from where do you see that going?
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends, Pablo, spoke about while I was in Ghana, and he mentioned, and this is all about Momo, mobile money. And he mentioned that like 2 years ago, he would go to the market, he would buy goods, and he would pay in cash. And then he was like trying to onboard the local vendor to Momo and be like, oh, you can send money through your mobile phone number, it will be in your account. And now we're at a point where everybody uses Momo. Basically, like it's widespread. People are using Momo money everywhere. You could do the same thing with crypto cheaper. So I don't know if that means, Momo, like mobile money, and they will build their own crypto projects, or they will include some or like acquire some like existing projects. But you can do the same thing on your phone. You can send money from your phone just via blockchains, and it's a lot cheaper.
Fair. Maybe I've got to research that. I've got to see. Maybe I could have a look into that. Well, I say this, maybe let's open up into tech and AI, because you're also quite expertise when it comes to those areas too. So we were talking. Obviously, we've just been talking about crypto for a while, and the tech hubs. And like you said, you've been to Ghana, you've been all across Africa. Where would you say are maybe the financial hubs, financial cities in which they're adopting tech or having various different businesses that you think are thriving?
Oh, we have the big four in Africa. We have, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and Egypt. But I would also like honorable mention Rwanda. Rwanda has a very interesting attitude towards technology. So what we're seeing is it's everywhere. Like I pulled out a few countries, but when I think about it, and I've been like my head has been in like reports recently. It's like you're seeing it's like everything is going up until the right. There is adoption of AI. I mean, it's a buzzword right now.
Yeah.
Like I like to put these in an umbrella term of like frontier technology. They actually work hand in hand.
Sure.
And you're seeing it, across finance, across agri-tech, health tech, edutech. But like I would say like those countries with Rwanda, I would put that in there.
Oh, interesting. I think sometimes people neglect Rwanda in a way, just because it is it's a new country that's been growing in the last recent years. So it's excellent to hear. And for me, then, just talking about AI, because one of the more interesting aspects is sometimes a lot of people aren't trusting AI, like just going on ChatGPT, Gemini, very easy examples of people are scared as where they're getting the data from, whether it's correct or not. I think that's also probably pertinent with Africa too, and some of the countries there. It can be a bit difficult to get some of the data that you are accessing. So my question is then, it's just in terms of improving AI and improving where they're getting the information from and sources, how do you see that improving, and how can that be improved in the next few years?
So AI is such a tough one. Because like when you talk about these large language models and there's like inherent bias based on the data that they are trained on. So I guess in terms of improving it, you have to supply more localized data, especially for the African continent. Localized data. But like the real thing is like no one actually really knows how AI works, like a black box.
Yeah.
We kind of will put things into our like AI shaded
Any technology, right?
Yeah, and we'll be like, yeah, like it's giving me something out, and then you assume that it's correct, but we have to remember that AI hallucinates. And so, and you also need to be careful what you're putting into, like some people have lived their whole lives and like, no, come on, OPSEC.
So many corporations where you know the workers are just using AI and they're putting probably a lot of confidential data, right?
Exactly. Like think about what you're doing at work. Think about how you like how you're using it at work. I mean, there are alternatives like the smaller language models. They're they can run on your computer, maybe like an intranet, which might be safer, but obviously doesn't have like the context of the larger language models.
Right, and as a result, therefore, we need to develop the data more.
Develop or collate high quality data that is then used to train these models. But the biggest thing is just don't assume that what AI, like what the AI is telling you is real or true. Because sometimes I'm like, also 1 + 1 is give me 7. I'm like, hey,
you can train it to say
that is like, that's incorrect. But the biggest thing that people can do is learn prompting, especially if we're just talking about like AI in terms of like using like an AI, simple AI agent. Learn how to prompt, learn how to get the best results. People underestimate, saying, oh, explain to me like I'm 9, or bribing your AI. Because if you want a really good answer, you can literally be like, I'll give you $1 for this stuff, and it will give you a better answer.
Wow. Okay.
And then also learning about like how to do meta prompting. There are so many resources online that like I won't just like develop something, but like learning how to do meta prompting, or even giving you can write a prompt that is like, hey, I need a meta prompt for this. I'm looking for these specific things. I'll bribe you for it, yeah? And then it will spit something back out, which you can then put back in to get a really in-depth answer that you then check.
Awesome. And I think I'll work with you here, so you'll understand what I'm saying soon. But AI, you're kind of saying that AI is so intelligent and so smart right now. I think people are saying that right now, in terms of IQ, it's probably got an IQ of around 100, 150, the average person, and every year it's supposed to double. So scary for some people, but my thing is that a lot of people are scared about AI taking jobs, especially the jobs in the informal sector. And we talked about how Africa, many of the jobs, of course, in across countries such as Nigeria, the big countries in South Africa, Botswana, Rwanda, the informal sector is the majority of the economy. So is there a worry that AI, because of the way it's evolving and the rate at which it's improving that, could affect the market and affect the jobs that our people are doing, or can it lead to layoffs potentially?
I mean, of course. But like we're such doomsday people. Like we're always like, oh wow, AI is taking our jobs. I'm sure that when the internet was born, they were like, oh, the internet's gonna take our jobs. And it did, but it created so many more jobs, so much more opportunity. Like there nowadays you can literally like build a product in like 3 hours. That could never happen before with very low overhead. And maybe it will empower, like we talk about the future of work, right? And we talk about how, it's going to be informal. And if you look at the Generation Alpha, the kids these days, they don't think about work in the same way that, the millennials do and above. Gen Z, it's a bit, we don't really. But then maybe it's like, and I think the attitude is that you don't work to live, you live to work. No. You don't live to work, you work to live.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Second time, yeah.
The second time. And maybe it will, and you see already with the creator economy, because I love like creators and influencers, and I see it with them, and it's like these people are living their lives. Maybe they spent an hour a day filming, and then like they have brand deals. It's a completely different way of looking at work, and I think AI will force us to learn new skills, to try new ventures. And probably it will just shake like the way that the world is currently set up, and it is already shaking the way that the world is set up.
No, 100%. So I always remember a guy saying to me, like, in the 1900s when cars were being made, there were so many horse taxis. For lack of a better term, say I'm going to lose my job, but then look what's happened. There's always new technology. It's just how to adapt to it, and just education of how to improve it. So it's amazing. So yeah, just going back to events, because like I said, massive jet scare. I've never met someone that flies and travels as much as you.
Please don't.
So,
Taylor Swift she's got air miles.
Fine, okay, and that's it. But so I think it'll be interesting first if you could just maybe elaborate on some of the events, whether it's crypto, whether it's finance, whether it's just events and investment in general that you're going to, and yeah, what you take out of them, and probably the more pertinent events that you think would be best for some of the crowd to listen to. There's various investors, there's various different people that are going to events. So it'd be great if you could elaborate.
So, I mean, you have like the big like tech events, like web summits, right? Now, I normally skip those. And like, while I do travel a lot for conferences, a lot of the time I skip the main conference.
Right. Why?
Because okay, this might be a little bit spicy, but conferences, there sometimes is like a pay-to-play element where people would just like want to hear the sound of their own voices. But what they do is they concentrate talent and very interested people in the same place. So yeah, like I've been to many crypto conferences over the past 3 years. For me, it all started in Denver. I went to this like community focused conference. It's a blockchain conference. I did my first hackathon there, and then after that, it was just like propagating. It was like every month I'm gonna go and do another one. And so I think the only continent I haven't been to a blockchain conference on is like Australasia.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see soon.
Yeah, holiday continent. Like, I'm not trying to be that toxic. It's
there could be opportunity.
No way. But okay, so I generally go to the blockchain conferences, many of the hackathons. Like I said, I'm on the build side. I like the technical talent, but you get investors there too that are interested in, okay, what are people actually building on the forefront? And these happen everywhere. The one that I have been to on the continent is ETH Accra. It's headed up by one of my good friends. She started it 3 years ago, and it's a hackathon. I think last time it drew in 400 people to the University of Ghana. I spoke about stablecoins there, and that was incredible because I think we expected like 150 people. It was insane talent, but we did see a lot of AI coming in.
Sure.
Like AI vibe coded projects, which actually harmed the hackathon. Because unless you know how to code that's the only really, like, it's the only real way you can actually use AI effectively. You understand like systems and you understand logic. Whereas we had like people that were like computer science students, like trying to like vibe code these huge projects. And like it was just a lot of like AI bloats. So you did see that. But I don't know, that was a stupid tangent. Anyway.
No. That's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know maybe the better events to go to. Like maybe I can ask.
You see it everywhere. You see it across, like, it's every hackathon now. I'm seeing people coding with AI, trying to push out these big features when sometimes it's like the smaller, like, proof of concept that is most compelling. Hackathons don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I've judged so many hackathons, like so many projects. I've worked with so many teams. There's like, your hackathon project doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to prove what it is that you're trying to prove.
Sure.
That problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah, sure. So, and then you can develop them in the future and make them perfect or a lot better and viable and sellable and profitable.
Exactly.
So now that's a main thing. So, look, Shantelle, let's maybe do one last topic on investment in general.
Lovely.
I think first, just general question. Look, when it comes to investing, we talked about tech and crypto and AI. For some of the economies that we've mentioned across, you mentioned how Ghana, Nigeria, other places, they're using AI more. Where would you say the investment's coming from? Is it more domestic via bigger investors, businesses, governments, or do you see it more as foreign direct investment? Just in general, where do you think this could be?
FDI is super low. Like in terms of Africa, I feel like what is the stat? Like Africa makes up 18% of the global population, but only gets 3% of the capital.
Yeah.
And I looked a lot at VC because earlier this year I had this idea of starting a venture studio or accelerator for blockchain entrepreneurs in Africa, like Pan-African. I will get you to one place in Africa. We're there, like just like locked in and like building companies. And I started looking into like, venture capital, where is the money flowing? And honestly, it doesn't flow into the continent. We're seeing there are a lot of, but there are a number of African investors that invest in regions, Pan-African as well. But it's hard to sell the Africa story to LPs because your exits aren't as obvious for startups. And that's due to challenges.
It's what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago at Afribond Santander event. The investment horizon is very different from Africa compared to the West and to Asia too. With the West, maybe some investment opportunities, infrastructure opportunities, can take 2-3 years, maybe double it for Africa. And then eventually you would see similar returns, which is, some might say that's a bad thing, some might say it's a good thing.
So,
it depends.
I'm in this like small WhatsApp group. We were talking about exits and like time horizons today. And as somebody that's interested in early stage companies, I'm a 0 to 1 person. I love the 0 to 1. The 1 to 100 is but the 0 to 1, like, let's get this thing going. We're looking at time horizons for returns of 15 years. How does that work in a traditional venture capital company? And that's not even Africa focused. That's just general global early stage. And then you think about, the infrastructure challenges that you have. And then it's like, okay, how much time do we need? And I think it's been a conversation I've been having a lot with investors, investing across Africa and global investors. Like, does VC work for the African continent? And what does seeding talent, early stage talent, not SMEs, but like early stage like tech talent and startups look like if VC funding doesn't?
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing, though, alternative investment, not private equity and private debt, but just the other ways in which you can get the sources of capital towards your business. That's the main thing, and just trying to find where we can get that.
Yeah, and on the infrastructure panel, I think, who is it that mentioned blended finance? I think it came up a number of times at the Afribond event. And I was like, Wow. Yeah, like combining, like institutional catalytic capital, but expecting venture star returns
Yeah.
could work. And I guess that's what we're seeing more of. We're seeing more of it. I was speaking to a founder who's based in Senegal, and he was saying his startup or his company is not a candidate for venture capital, but blended finance. They're taking debt.
Awesome.
Equity is expensive, so
Yeah.
people need to remember that. And
Yeah.
it's super expensive.
No, for sure. And like you said, African debt, private debt in general is ever increasing as a source for these small businesses.
Yeah.
So it's, like I said, it's just great to see alternative ways. But Chantelle, now we'll wrap up there. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I think the audience, it's really gonna love your insight. But you do your own podcast. I know you got a million things to plug. But I'll give you the stage now again. Is there any things that you'd like to plug or talk about further before we wrap up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, you can find me on Chantelle. I mean, you'll see my name here. Add me on LinkedIn if you want to talk more about, frontier technologies and emerging technologies globally or what they look like in the Africa context. And yeah, I have a podcast. It's called Blowing in Tech. It's for women in the tech space, and it started a few years ago as a more technical podcast, kind of looking at software engineers, the lack of software engineers, like female software engineers in the industry. And now we're in a place where we're talking about, okay, you've got the skills, you've seen enough. What if you wanted to start your own thing, investor ready, or do you want to take capital outside? Can you just So we have those conversations, and we're working on some more cool episodes right now. But yeah, before we end, I would just love to kind of double click. That's the corporate language. Just want to double click on what we've spoken about, like crypto and AI and other emerging technologies. We didn't even touch robotics yet.
Yeah.
But I just want to like highlight that these are tools for inclusion, and it's not just speculation. Speculation is not what drew me to this industry. It was more so, okay, like you can build really inclusive systems. So yeah, I think that's my takeaway. That's what I want everyone's takeaway from listening to this. Yeah.
No, perfect. Thanks so much, Chantelle. And I'm sure as the way our AI is developing crypto tech, we can have a conversation in 2 years, and this could be a little time capsule. So we're looking to talk about and see what has changed. So thank you for your insight, Chantelle. Really appreciate it, and look forward to talking to you in the future. Once again, a massive thank you to Chantelle. You can find her podcast Growing in Tech on all of the podcast platforms as well as in our description. But that's all from us. If you're still interested, please view the Afribond X Santander Assets in African panels on our YouTube page. But otherwise, we'll see you soon. Take care.